Hello and welcome to the first Toolbox Talk online, a new thing that we're trying. We thought we'd try and reach out to you guys that we don't see very often and give you some information on health and safety via YouTube. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Rob Hughes. I'm the Health and Safety Manager for the group, and we decided to do this, as I say, to reach out to you guys that we don't see very often. Okay, so the first thing we wanted to talk about on Toolbox Talks was actually stepladders, and as you can see, I've got one here today. The reason we decided to pick stepladders was basically because you guys have got them, and you use them every day, and it's the main piece of work equipment that we use to get into places where we need to do work. So there's a number of things that we need to talk about with stepladders, and the first thing to talk about really is their justification for use. So as you know, a lot of sites ban stepladders, particularly on construction sites. And there's a reason for that, and the reason for that comes from the Working at Height Regulations 2005, which say that working at height is any height where a fall is liable to result in a personal injury. So working on the pair of step ladders comes into that, obviously. So there's a number of things we need to do to justify using step ladders. The first one of those is basically to say, okay, well, we're going to use it for short duration work. That means that the work shouldn't take any longer than 30 minutes. Now, it's not to say that you can be up there for 30 minutes, if the job takes any longer than that, we have to use something else. Basically, what it means is that you shouldn't be spending any longer than 30 minutes at any one time on the step ladder. So if you want to spend 20 minutes doing the job on the step ladder, then come down, do something else, and go back up again, give yourself a bit of a rest, then that's okay. The next thing we've got to think about is the amount of weight that we're going to be using. So it should be for light work as well. So that basically means on or around 10 kilos. We shouldn't be having to hold or carry or lift or support anything heavier than around 10 kilos while we're working on a pair of steps. So they are literally just for light work only. And then the last two things are basically to make sure that we got 3 points of contact, which, so I'll demonstrate now, is 2 feet and 1 hand. This one you can obviously use to do the job. And then the last thing is that a handhold is available. Not necessarily used, but is available to you. Okay, and then the last thing, just to quickly mention, as I say, is that if we can use a piece of safer work equipment, then we should really think about using that. If I was to service and maintain this air conditioning unit in this office, it'd be very difficult to get any other piece of work equipment in, so the step ladders are acceptable. Okay, so once we've decided that the step ladders are safe to use, there are some do's and don'ts that we've got to remember. And I'm sure you guys can remember some of these already, but as I say, this is just a nice little reminder and a bit of a refresher. So the first one to think about really is to check the step ladder before you use it. I know you guys have got these bits of kit, you use them every day, day in, day out, but we need to really check these every day. So we need to make sure that they're regularly inspected. You should have a ladder tag on them, make sure it's in date, making sure the anti-slip feet are in place and they're not damaged in any sort of way, that all the rungs are in place, and that there's no dents or corrosion or rust or splitting or anything like that. And the same with the stiles, so the upright sections, that they're exactly the same. You know, there's no problems with those either, dents, corrosions, splitting, cracks or anything like that that might cause it to fail. Also make sure that all the fittings are in place, all the screws, the rivets, whatever, that they're all in place, and that the anti-spread bar, which in this case is quite a small one, is actually secured in place as well. Okay, once we've done all that and we're happy with the ladder and we can use it, the next thing we've got to do is thinking about how we're going to use it safely. So another do is, if we can tie it, do so. If you tie the ladders to something that's secure, then it's not going to topple over and you're not going to have that problem. Make sure you stay within the frame of the step ladders. So basically that your navel should be between the two uprights, the stiles, so you shouldn't be overreaching. Obviously I'm not going to demonstrate that now. Shame on that. Okay, so we do that. We also make sure that the task that we're doing, that we're not going to be side loading the ladder, so use it straight on if you can. So in other words, if you're on the step ladders and you need to be drilling into the wall, you point the step ladders in the face the direction in which the force is being applied, so that you're not at risk of side loading the ladders and toppling them over. Okay. Next, we've got to make sure that we use the step ladder to the right height. The balance is very important for your safety on a pair of steps. And in these particular step ladders, you're actually not allowed to go any higher than there. You should be leaving at least 3 rungs to the top. Okay? Any higher than this, obviously the centre of gravity increases and you could topple over the step ladder. If you do need to go higher, it's a good idea to think about Should we be hiring some equipment? Should we be getting some equipment in? Could we borrow some equipment? Obviously check it first, not the clients, I mean from a highest place, before we use it. Okay. And make sure that you have it on a firm and level base as well. And as I say, make sure the anti-spread bar is secure and in place as well. Okay. Then the last thing to think about as far as the do's are concerned is to do think about your safety when you're on the step ladder. Can somebody come along and clear you off it? Are you working with the public or with members of staff that can do that? And if so, think about barriering off the area, barrier tape barriers, something like that. Or as well, thinking about their safety as well. Are you going to be dropping any tools by accident or any materials that might land on people? Should they be protected from that as well? Barriering off the area such that they do fall, they're not going to land on them. Okay. So the next thing then is the don'ts, which is basically the opposite of the do's. So don't make do with a pair of step ladders if something is dangerous. Use something that's safer if you can. Time and money in that sort of circumstances is not an excuse. We do really need to think about other things if the step ladder is not suitable. Okay, don't use them for heavy tasks, even if you're thinking about using it as a part of a team. So if you've got a step ladder here, and then between the two of you lifting up something heavy, so no, you don't do that. We hire in some lifting equipment, or we use something else. It's just not done. Okay, don't overload the step ladders, don't side load the step ladders, don't be overreaching, and as I say, don't go higher than the 3 steps. Okay, so that's how we safely use the step ladders and justify their use. As I say, the step ladders are a good piece of equipment, but the big problem with them is that people don't use them safely. People get complacent with them. And that's something we can't afford to do. You guys can't afford to do. They can be dangerous if that happens, and so you've really got to respect the step ladders and think about your own safety and other people's safety when you're using them. Okay, so now just to round off the toolbox talk, I want to ask you a couple of questions, and then if you could email the replies or send in your replies, so that we know that you've watched the video footage. So the first question is, can you please list as many of the checks to do on the step ladder as you can think of? And then the last question I'm going to ask you to answer is if you can give me as many of the do's that you can think of as well, and send them in. Okay, thanks very much for listening. I hope this was interesting, and see you again next time.